Welcome back. We're holding a debate today between the candidates running for the 10th Hampden District seat in the State House. Representative Cheryl Coakley-Rivera resigned her district seat to accept the job in the state court system, and running to replace her are Melvin Edwards, Carlos Gonzalez, and Ivette Hernandez. I asked the candidates questions. They have 60 seconds to give us a response. We're up to question number 4. Ivette Hernandez will go next, as she'll start it off. And here we go. There are schools in our area that are struggling, and too many students drop out. What would you do to improve our schools, and where does the money come from to pay for universal pre-kindergarten? Ivette?
I would strongly advocate to bring revenue through taxing the super rich, taxing those millionaires, billionaires that are not paying their fair share, so that we can invest in our communities. We need to invest in our schools. Our teachers are in desperate need of our help. We need smaller classrooms. We need, more and more teachers to be hired locally. That would bring more revenue. We have a lot of children in Springfield waiting for childcare, early education, pre-K. I truly believe that a child needs a good foundation and a great head start to be able to enter the school system so that they can, be more successful throughout their education. But it is up to us, and I will be a great advocate to invest in our communities, invest in our teachers.
Carlos, you're up next.
I have 5 children. 3 are in college. 1 works at the police department, and 1 is going to be a senior in high school. Education starts at home, not in the schools. The key to education is having a balanced approach to educating the family, the kids, but also protecting our teachers and protecting the basic fabrics of what education is all about, which means having the basic principal needs met for our children. Now, we have some financial challenges when we do that, and we have to continue to support educational initiatives that support not only the child, but the environment as well as the family that's part of the solution to creating an opportunity for kids to get educated. 30 million words are heard and read to kids in suburbia more than in kids that grow up in areas that are poor. And we can, as a parent, we can read to our kids.
Melvin, your answer, please.
Well, every problem in our society isn't solved just by more money. And obviously, I'd like to see an increase in local aid. I'd like to see a new formula for how we fund our schools. I know some of the issues are money-driven. But it's unfortunate that if we feel like the only way that we can solve our problems related to education is to create more funding sources, I'm sure that there are some creative ways to do that, including expansion of our economic base. I mean, the increase in property values. If we were actually to lower taxes for homeowners and for businesses in the Commonwealth, in particular here in Western Massachusetts, the type of people that we would be able to draw to our community who would be willing to invest in our community, and then their contribution is, as they pay their taxes and as they do about doing the business of what they do, would also help us create more opportunities for the expansion of our music programs and for our after-school programs and for our early childhood. The key to driving better schools is actually to expand your economic base.
The next question for the candidates. Massachusetts is working to establish dispensaries for medical marijuana. Should our state take the next step and legalize recreational use of marijuana similar to what other states have done? Carlos?
Again, I am not an expert in this area, and I really basically don't think we should legalize marijuana at this point. But again, with leadership comes the opportunity to listen and to learn and to grow. As a legislative lead, I've learned that listening to people that have different opinions and coming together to bring potential solutions is important and critical to effective leadership. I will listen to the issues. I will listen to both sides. Right now, if I had to make a decision, I don't think we should legalize marijuana. Now, medical marijuana is a different position that I will take. But right now, I really don't think that Massachusetts, without more information, can really go forward and legalize marijuana.
Melvin, your answer, please.
Well, I'm not in favor of legalizing marijuana, but I do support the use of marijuana for medical purposes. What I have a problem with what we've created in this state in terms of this issue is that you've given an opportunity for a very few, very wealthy individuals to be able to take advantage of the laws and create a new industry. If the value of marijuana is good for medicinal purposes, then let's have a considerate, legitimate, sympathetic conversation with those who will be afflicted or affected by this type of a program. But the way this is set up, I mean, here we are, it was passed in the legislature how long ago? We still don't have the dispensary set up, and what I see is an opportunity for a very select few of individuals to create this new resource of income for them. The bottom line is the war on drugs hasn't worked. We've got too many of our young men that are being incarcerated because of the use of this drug, and what you're doing is just not working.
Ivette, your answer, please.
Again, I will respect the vote of the residents. Voters have agreed to allow marijuana to be legalized in Massachusetts. I myself know that many other drugs are affecting the community. If we have, the experts in the area to be able to identify who can they sell the marijuana to, I will be all in favor to it and allow for that revenue to also come into the communities and invest in our communities. I will definitely sit with the experts. Legalizing marijuana, it's something that many of our minority children and adolescents are getting in trouble for it, and we need to do something about it and come together and agree to come together to have a plan on this issue.
Okay, candidates, we have time for one last question. This time you only get 30 seconds for an answer, okay? Here's the question. What's the first piece of legislation you want to file or sponsor? Melvin?
I would be most interested in trying to file some way of disconnecting taxpayer dollars to supplement environmental projects that are not responsible. And what I mean by that, we have the issue of the biomass coming in the city of Springfield, where we have very large amounts of asthma and respiratory problems, and I don't believe that type of project can go forward if it wasn't for the tax subsidies. We need to make a disconnect between it. If you're a private citizen and you have the resources, then build it on your own dime, but don't use our taxpayer dollars for bad environmental policy.
Yvette?
As a social worker, I will right away start working on legislation or making sure that we follow through on the legislation to support our social workers. We have a crisis, a caseload crisis, not only with DCF but DTA and in our state agencies. We need to make sure that when we invest in our social workers, we bring more social workers that will bring more revenue, as we are going to be hiring more individuals to work, and that will reduce the intensity of the amount of cases and the responsibility that they carry.
Carlos?
I will work with my colleagues at the State House of Representatives to increase penalties for anybody committing and convicted of crime in a senior housing complex. I've heard from many residents that are over 50 years old that don't feel safe. And we need to protect our golden agers, and I will work candidly with all the legislators throughout the State House to make sure this happens.
Okay, candidates, now time for your closing statements. You each have 1 minute to make a closing statement, and Carlos Gonzalez, you go first.
For 15 years, Cheryl Coakley Rivera, state representative, has championed many issues on public safety, economic development, education, all the issues that we as candidates champion. And I salute the two candidates that are with me here today. Education counts. Experience matters. And working with in a collaborative way with many people in the State House, and having that experience working with the Western Mass delegation and working with the leadership in Boston is important. I've been there, I've worked there, and that's why the state representative Cheryl Coakley Rivera has endorsed me. It's going to take years for somebody that's new at the State House to learn and go out and champion the issues that the residents want. I can do that on day one. I will continue to fight for you. I ask you for your vote and your support. On behalf of my family and the community of the city of Springfield, One Springfield, please vote for Carlos Gonzalez on September 9th.
Melvin Edwards, your closing statement, please.
Well, first, thank you for allowing me an opportunity to sit here and to express to you some of my desires and some of my opinions on how to move the city forward. Having been born, raised here, I'm part of the solution as much as I'm part of the problem. And I have no desire to ever get wealthy enough to move anywhere other than Springfield to live. So I have, by my record of service to the community, demonstrated that I do love my city, that I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and go to work. I started off in my tenure in community service by picking up trash on Walnut Street with my wife on the other side of the street with a bag and some gloves. I have demonstrated through the service to the city as a 3-time city councilor and president of 3 nonprofits where I get no salary, where I work very hard on the legislation to support all types of programs across the city, regardless of neighborhood. I'm well known in 16 Acres, I'm well known in Indian Orchard, Forest Park, Hungry Hill. I know all over the city, and I known for the work that I do. So it's more than me just saying that I'm a great candidate and a person who is deserving of this position. I respectfully ask for your vote on September 9th so that I can take this to Boston and fight for you as well.
Ivette Hernandez, your closing statement, please.
As a social worker and a community activist, I've been working very hard and fighting for, the rights and equality of all the residents in my district, being from the youngest to the eldest to the less fortunate to the working families. I will make sure that I will continue to do that as your state rep. If you go in my website, you'll see all the endorsement of all the community organizations and other groups, as well as unions that have endorsed me because they believe in what I believe in, and that's to improve the quality of life of the residents in Springfield. If you feel that you are okay with somebody going to the State House and just cutting deal behind closed doors, if you're happy with the current leadership, please vote for one of my other opponents. But if you want change, and if you want somebody that will fight for you and that will continue to fight for the working families, our children, our elder, please consider voting for Ivette Hernandez.
That concludes our look at the candidates running for the 10th Hampden District seat in the House. Thanks to Melvin Edwards, Carlos Gonzalez, and Ivette Hernandez for participating today. Primary day, of course, is Tuesday, September 9th. If you missed any of today's debate, you can watch it again on wwlp.com. I'm Rich Teddemer for 22 News. Have a good afternoon.